I'm ready.
All right. Welcome to another edition of the After School Special. I am here with our new sports guru, XFL Jim, man. And what an exciting time it is, man. You've had some viral videos. You've joined the Patrick and the People team. What the hell is going on, Jim?
Things are great. I don't think in my entire life I've ever been called a guru before. So I'll tell you, I love it.
All right, good, good. Well, that's what we consider you around here, man. So, how did you get involved in football, sports, all that? What led to your passion, man?
So I'm from Nebraska. So obviously grew up loving college football, loving the Cornhuskers. And then I'd say sometime in my late teens, early 20s, I started developing a love just for college football in general. And then somewhere around, I'd say late 2017, 2018, the AAF was announced, the Alliance of American Football, for those of you who remember.
Right.
uh, had some great teams in them, followed some players, and I was like, oh, this spring football thing is super awesome, that's going to be really fun. That obviously AAF didn't work.
No, it did
uh,
not.
it was very fun though, had some good
Yeah.
stuff. And then the XFL announces in 2019 that they're going to be releasing again, relaunching in 2020. I was living in Los Angeles at the time. We had a team. I was like, you know what? I like the AAF. I didn't really do anything with it. I'm going to go full bore, full steam ahead into the XFL. I fell madly in love with just the people that are involved with the XFL and involved in spring football around the world. And I just did a ton more research into it. I went to 2 games that the LA Wildcats played back in 2020, and I watched every XFL game. I think I have now seen. They only went 5 weeks because of COVID, but I think I have seen the 2020 version of the XFL. I have seen every game at least 5 times.
Wow. 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 Okay. So the XFL, is Dwayne The Rock Johnson still involved in that?
So yes, in 2023, after when Vince sold it, he sold it to The Rock and his ex, Danny Garcia and Redbird Capital. They ran it through 2023, and then late 2023, they announced that they're partnering up with the USFL that got brought back in
Right.
2022, headed by Moose Johnston. So
Daryl,
now,
Daryl Moose Johnson from the
yeah,
Cowboys fame, right?
so now they merged into what is called the UFL, the United Football League. So that is headed by Redbird Capital. That is headed by Daryl Johnston and Danny Garcia. The Rock is kind of involved, but if you talk to any like actual UFL fan, he's more of just like a figurehead
Right.
where
Right.
he
Like
just
an
posts about
executive
everyone's sport.
producer.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And now they're coming back for round two. This is the second modern day spring football league that has now entered a second year. We had it with the USFL in 22 and 23. Now we get it with the UFL.
So you feel like that this league has legs, that it's going to make it? Does it have the backers that it needs? Is it going to build the support it needs?
This will be a big defining year. 2025 will be a major year. If the numbers kind of stay the same TV wise, that'll look good. The big thing, the big push that we in the community want to see is the crowd sizes and the integration with the communities, because they're playing in the actual markets, but the teams aren't in the actual markets. What they do is they
Gotcha.
all stay in Arlington and then fly out to the
Oh
games.
wow.
So one of the major things that I had criticisms of the UFL last year is they didn't do a good enough job of like reaching out to the home markets and doing good marketing to get like the local people invested. And this will be a big factor if they can kind of do that, get decent crowd sizes. Besides St. Louis, St. Louis was always solid, but if they can get like good crowd sizes and get like a nice base of people, that'll be what I want to see. They already announced that they're looking for expansion cities, so that's a positive sign.
Jim, why aren't they in the city that they're representing? Why are they not living there?
It's a financial thing. So in 2020 they did it, but it's at this point it's prohibitively expensive to kind
Okay.
of have
A
this team
facility
over
there.
here, this team over here. You're instead of just getting housing for all the players in one spot, that's Arlington, you now have to set up housing, practice facilities,
Okay.
everything in right now 8 different markets rather than just one, and then you're only leasing out the venues.
Now, obviously, you're a super fan of the UFL now.
Oh yes.
But for those who don't know, what are the differences primarily between the NFL and the UFL now?
So now, especially now that the NFL has adopted the old XFL style kickoff, where that's what the XFL used to do. It used to kick off where the most of the players are at one spot and the kickers at the other point. The
Right.
UFL kind of has the old school kickoff, where what they did is they just moved everyone back to sort of decrease touchbacks. That's one of the
Okay.
bigger differences. The other major difference, and I hear that they're trying to maybe change it, but I really don't want them to, is there's no PAT kicks.
Okay.
So instead of kicking after a touchdown, you can either go for 1 point, 2 point, or a 3 point conversion.
Yeah.
And that was always awesome. And then the overtime are a little bit different compared to the NFL, where it's more similar to college,
Mhm.
but it's like if college overtime didn't have the first two overtimes, it was just sudden death. So what they do
Okay.
is they do trading off plays from the 2.5 yard line, and then it's a best of five format.
Now, let's talk about the players that make up the UFL. Are these former NFL or are these former collegiate players? What are we looking at here?
You see a lot of mix. So you see players who have spent a decent amount of time on some NFL squads. The biggest name of the past couple years was playing in St. Louis. He was the quarterback, AJ McCarron, for
Yeah.
people that remember. Spent some good time on NFL squads. You see other things like that,
Wasn't
but
it,
then you
wasn't he
see,
Alabama? Is that where he
yep,
was from? Yeah. Okay.
won that natty at Alabama. Remember what was it?
Yeah.
Musburger kept talking about his girlfriend.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Oh, Brent got in trouble for that a little bit, didn't he?
Just a little
Looking a
bit.
little skeevy there.
But you see players that have spent time on NFL rosters. You see players that maybe coming out of college had a lot of promise, but either due to injury or something else didn't get a fair shot in the NFL. You see guys that have spent time in like the arena football circuit, which is a super grind. You see guys from all over. You see a lot of players from like G5 schools or FCS schools or even like D2 schools
Okay.
that don't get like a real good look
Now,
compared to other guys.
do you think these players that they're at the height of their potential, or is it possible if it moves forward that this could almost be like a G League for the NFL?
So I have a mixed bag opinion on this one
Okay.
because I feel like for it to survive, it almost needs to be partnered up with the NFL in some ways. And you've seen it in some regards. The biggest names so far, it's really just kickers like Jake Bates for the Lions, was
Okay.
formerly on the Michigan Panthers, killed it this last year.
Okay.
The kicker, Brandon Aubrey for the Cowboys, also was amazing in the USFL. That's where he really got his shot. He was a soccer player at Notre Dame before like doing his first professional stint was in the UFL.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, the USFL. And then you have Cavante Turpin, also the return guy for the Cowboys, was in the USFL. Like you have some names. And I think the more that you get the UFL as a legitimate brand, you get more guys that'll be able to see it as an opportunity to get into the league.
Well, the good news is the Cowboys love to buy cheap.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that Jerry's already discovered that he can get some players over there on the low, and that's his favorite MO, I think.
You see that, and then there's a couple like D linemen sprinkled here. The Steelers have like a decent amount of guys, and then some guys on the practice squad for like the Panthers. PJ Walker was a backup forever, like floating around in the
Hmm.
NFL.
Hmm.
Josh Johnson, similar guy, back in the XFL in 2020. You'll probably see guys get this kind of opportunity, and for the long term success of the UFL, it almost needs to have this partnership, this handshake agreement with the NFL. But personally, I don't want to see it as a feeder league. I want to see it more of its own
Right,
entity
entity,
that
yeah.
it exists as itself.
So
It's a standalone product. It is entertaining. Some Sometimes obviously the players aren't as good as like a full NFL roster, but I don't think that affects the entertainment factor.
well, I mean, if you look at college teams, they're not as good as an NFL roster either, and everybody loves college ball because you have more variables, you have more likelihood of upsets, you have more likelihood of things to break out and be different than you anticipate in those type of environments. Am I right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And another thing that just following these leagues has made me fall in love with other aspects of college football, especially where I've been following like the group of five teams, the Conference USA, the
Hmm.
MAC, Sun Belt. I follow those leagues so much more than I did when I was starting,
Okay.
and the entertainment factor alone is through the roof.
So in a UFL, how many teams are there, and how many games do they play in a season?
There are 8 teams right now. So as we stand, there are the Arlington Renegades, the Houston Roughnecks, the Birmingham Stallions, the Michigan Panthers, the DC Defenders, the Memphis Showboats. And I'm already with how many leagues like I go through, I
Right.
always forget some.
Yeah.
The St. Louis Battlehawks, of course, can't
Yeah.
forget them, and then the San Antonio Brahmas.
Okay.
But there's 8 teams. They play 10 games, so they just go straight 10 weeks,
Okay.
and then they do their semifinals and then the finals.
All
That's how
right.
they're playing it right now.
And when does their season run?
Right now, they're shooting for late March, so they start sometime later in the March, like the last week or two of March, and they go until about mid June.
Okay, so they're going to lead up to NFL,
Yes,
basically.
they want nothing. They don't want to touch
No, of
NFL
course not.
whatsoever.
That would be foolish. They'd rather put themselves in the gap and gain fans there, I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
That way, their only real competition. Obviously, when you start the season, you have March Madness, but it's not like the first couple weeks, which are really crazy. Your only real competition is MLB, NHL, and NBA.
Okay. All right. So let me throw out a couple other questions for you here. So, watching your videos, watching the one that you recently did for us, look, there's some crazy in there, Jim. Let's be honest. You get a little bit crazy, right?
That's
Uh,
fair. I've been told.
yeah. How did you develop the persona that you have as XFL Jim? And what is it about, man?
So, for those of you who don't know, it's not just there is XFL Jim, who's the main gym, but there's a whole world of gyms out there.
It's like the
There's
multiverse of gyms.
Yes, that's the best way to put it. Is there is a multiverse of gyms. I call it the extended gymiverse, and
Okay.
there's many of us out there. And I don't know what clicked. 2020, like late 2019, 2020 is when I started the channel and
Yeah.
started doing the XFL gym stuff. I made some videos online before that, but then I was just like, you know what? There's sports coverage out there, and there's weird videos out there, and there's not a lot of crossover. Like there's people
Right.
doing sports betting content.
No,
There's people
sports
doing like
always seems over legit at times, doesn't it?
it does.
Overproduced, over real, over newsy.
It definitely does. I was like, I want to just put like a little bit of like a dab of weird here. I want to see what I can get with it. I was watching a lot of tapes from like small town, like old 90s public access where anyone could
Yeah.
get whatever show they wanted. I was going for that vibe. And then I was watching, honestly, a lot of Adult Swim channel, like Steve Brule, Tim and Eric Awesome Show, like
Okay.
a lot like that, where I'm just like, there's this weird factor that some people are drawn to. And I want to see if I can maybe enter that into the sports world
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah. I think you've accomplished that. I think you've accomplished that very well. I mean, I think you've accomplished weird, awkward, and entertaining in one. Now, tell me about, a couple things that I noted in your first segment for us. Number one was something going on with boobs in there. Tell me about that character? Yeah,
That is the Tit Goblin.
the Tit Goblin.
That is the
That's
Tit
right.
Goblin.
Yeah.
They are a reoccurring character. They appear probably in like 1 to 2 videos a year.
Okay.
They are what you call them an antagonist. The realistic, like what happened to develop that character was I got really high one day and looked up on Amazon and I saw that you could just buy like a set of fake boobs for drag shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, sweet. What's the highest like size of cup that I could get?
Yeah.
Bottom. And then I need something to go with this. So I bought a goblin mask too.
That's great. That's
And
great.
I was like, okay, I got to make a character out of this. So then I just developed the Tit Goblin.
No, and it's insane. It's absolutely insane. You do some funny blurring and stuff with it.
I found that you have to. I tried. I forgot to blur it one time on like a regular YouTube video,
and it got shut down because of that.
I got dinged for like a couple weeks for that.
Really? Even though they were fake, huh?
Yeah, they don't care.
They
They
don't
do not
care.
care.
That's hilarious, man. And obviously, you do this with your unbuttoned shirt, your mullet flying. How did you decide this is the way I want to go? I want to look like a guy who's on vacation, who probably has been drinking all night and just doesn't give a shit.
That's just the look. That's just
Yeah.
my look in general. Like I've always like kind of had a very relaxed, go with the flow sort of vibe.
Yeah.
My favorite, I mean, probably the biggest inspiration. Anyone who knows me, I watched a lot of The Big Lebowski.
Okay. That
People
makes
see
sense.
it. People see it.
Yeah, no, that adds up there. I can see that completely. fitting into that scene. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
The mullet and the mustache was just spur of the moment. I used to have like this caveman mountain man looking beard
Yeah.
that was crazy. And eventually I was just like, I'm just gonna shave it. I shaved it all completely once, and then next time I was like, I'm just gonna go with a mustache.
You
Let's just
know,
see how it looks.
as crazy as that sounds, somehow, some way, your ridiculous idea of having some fat mustache a la Freddie Mercury has come back into vogue. And you can thank, in a big part, I guess, the movie Maverick for that. But mustaches are the thing now. You've come at exactly the right time.
It definitely works. Mullets and mustaches being back definitely helps.
No, it definitely puts you right into the groove there, you know. So what? Tell me about when you first realized you were having some success as XFL Jim.
So the first time I ever realized that I was doing anything right, um, I was in sort of like the sports betting sphere a little bit. And then
Mhm.
this website that no longer exists, it was called Better Than Vegas. They sought me out. I had a contract with them, and this is my first time like, oh, I get like paid to do this. I get like I can actually do something here.
So you were like handicapping basically.
Yeah, I was just doing like I would do a few bets a day. I was giving out these videos,
Little tips.
uh,
Yeah,
tips here and there, and in like my own sort of unique way. I would have a spin on it where I remember one video I got thrown out of a van before I was giving out my picks.
that's
It was stuff
great.
like that.
That's great, man.
Um, it's moments like that, and then when I went to the USFL Championship in 2022, and there's a bunch of people that just recognized me that are part of the spring football community. Like, hey, Jim.
All
I was
right.
like, wow. And then I went to the UFL Championship this last year, and a bunch of people just walk up to
Just
me, ask
mobbed
for
you.
pictures.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That is crazy, man. So what's your highest charting video so far? Do you know? Do you have
I'm
any
not
idea?
super big. I think it is ranking the XFL uniforms, if I remember right, when the 2023 uniforms got announced.
Uh-huh.
Um, some of those get up like a couple thousand,
Oh yeah.
but
Yeah.
otherwise
That's
it's like
great.
Twitter. It's usually like Twitter comments or Twitter videos where I'll just be like, a lot of people know me from the weird stuff I'll say there.
Yeah, that's amazing because you do have a high level of engagement. I've noticed that on your social media that the people who love XFL Gym, they love XFL Gym, baby, you know?
I got some diehards.
Yeah, and that's what you have to have that core group, you know. So, what's the long-term goal here? What do if you were going to fast forward 5 years in an ideal situation, what would be happening?
Okay, ideal situation is I'm getting to do what I'm covering. Like the UFL is established. The UFL is a legitimate league. It is firmly established at this point, and I am on a track where I am sort of not partnered up, but I'm very close with the league. I get to like interview players. I get to go to like
You're
events.
a legitimate voice in the
I'm a
UFL
legitimate voice.
community.
Yes, I'm a legitimate voice in the spring football community. I get to go to like I get a press badge for the Grey Cup for the CFL. I get to travel on my own dime, but I have the ability to travel to like
Sure.
Japan
Or
to
wherever
go
it's
see
going to
their
be.
football leagues
Yeah.
because the Japanese football leagues people don't know about, but they've been going on since like the 90s.
Really?
Yeah,
I
the
didn't
X
know.
League has been going on forever.
Wow, I didn't even know folks were big enough over there to compete in football.
They get some legit players too from the States. They got
Oh,
my
okay.
favorite one is Boogie Knight from
Really?
ULM. He plays
Okay.
over there for one of the teams.
Now I knew basketball did that. They go overseas and play a lot. I didn't know football also had competitive leagues where they did that.
Oh yeah.
Wow,
Europe and Japan.
that is amazing. I did that. I just got educated on that. So what do you think the key to you reaching this goal is going to be? What do you got to do to get there?
That's where I'm stuck. That's what I'm trying to like find. Obviously there's luck involved. It's like
Sure.
it's that I think a level you need to like you always need to evaluate where you're at, what's working, what's not. I'm doing that actually currently. I'm looking through all the videos, the stuff that I do. I'm evaluating what's working, what's not. Where do I need to put my focus? What do I need to do? Do I need
Yeah.
to do more live streams? Do I need to do more podcasts? Do I need to do more just straight up weird videos? Do I need to do more just like other content like this? Do I need to get more on TikTok?
Right.
It's evaluating in that regard.
So
But at the very least, I'll tell you this, I'm never going to stop just because this is just what I do for fun too.
Yeah,
Like
no,
this is just
this
like
your
so
thing.
fun for me.
So, what I've learned so far in my career, and I've done stand-up comedy and media for 15, 20 years now. And I've learned that consistency is number one. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter which format, it just needs to consistently be there because you can put it out to every format. You just got to keep making sure that content is coming in because number one, obviously, that builds up to monetization on your social media, right? But
Mhm.
number two, it keeps people coming because, and this is what people don't realize sometimes is if you have once you hit this break point, let's call it critical mass, right? You've got enough videos out that now it starts to get this traction, and so you start to get, maybe TikTok is algorithming you up, and so you got these new people coming. Well, once they come, if they like it, they're going to go back and watch everything you got. They're going to eat your catalog up, and that's where the magic is when you got a catalog, you got these people rolling in, and they're like, well, let me watch all this shit.
Consistency is key with like anything, especially in an online space.
Yeah.
Consistency is so key.
I found too for me, and I can't speak for you because you know it's so different what works for other people successfully. Because look, I've got two sons, and they're one of them's 22, one of them's 25, and I watch. Sometimes they show me videos, and I watch it, and I go, I don't even know what I just watched, man. Is that's funny? And he's like, yeah, no, that's hilarious. I'm like, okay, I believe you, but I'm like, I don't get it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're authentic. That's the thing right now that people are after more than anything in the world. They are begging for authenticity. They're tired of the overproduced, overdone, big corporate type shit, and they want real,
Yes.
and they want to have a good time with it. But I'll tell you, the one thing I think anybody, if I were going to share anything with anybody in content creation, is less is more. And I don't mean less content. I mean, edit, 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 cut it down a third more than you probably think you should, and whittle it down and get it real tight. If you do that, it's the best. It's hard to do, man. It's hard because you look at these and you start, almost rank judging your punchlines, and you go, well, do I get rid of that one or not? I really like it, but you have to trim fat and make it punch, and I think that's one of the big keys to doing it. Now, when you do yours, do you pre-script any, or do you go all off the top of your head? How do you do that when you
So
put something together?
I go through notebooks like crazy. When I do like the videos I did for the weekly roundup, I write down all the information. So I'll write down like the scores from the college football games, scores
Yeah.
from the NFL, and I just write that down. But I don't write down any
You don't
lines.
write punchlines, you don't write that. You just go in and you ad lib it as you
Yeah,
go.
I write down like the scenarios. I write down what the scene is, but I don't write specific lines. And I've just found that I'm never if I do that, especially when I do videos where it's multiple characters talking, it's so
Yeah.
much better just to be there in the moment and be like, okay, I'm talking like this, and then
Stream
I
of
can replay it
conscience.
back,
Yeah.
and then I could be another character and like be talking back. It's so much better for me to just go off the head and just see what I'm talking about notes wise and just go off memory. I go through the notes and then I write down all the scenarios, I write down all my stats and
Gotcha.
everything,
So you,
and then
you,
just
you
go
really
off
just
top.
have the scores and teams so you know who you're covering, and then you just riff. So with all these different, the multiverse of gems, the extended Gemiverse, um, do you use only your natural normal voice for these, or do you apply different voices to some of these different gems?
So the it depends. So each one it's the same voice, but it's a different way of talking.
Yes, yes,
Um, like XFL Jim has a different way of talking than there's even the 2020 XFL Jim, who's a different XFL Jim.
right.
He has a different way of speaking. USFL Jim has a different way of speaking. CFL Jim, I give a little bit of like a nice guy, sort of Canadian sort of tone to him.
Yeah,
X League Jim doesn't speak very much. Investigator Jim has a different way of speaking. Wizard Jim has a different like it's it's all the same like sort of voice, but a different cadence, I would
Yeah,
say.
no, I get that. And sometimes, cadence is everything in a voice. Some people don't realize how significant that can be, especially if you're trying to learn to do impersonations or something. The cadence is often the most challenging part to pick up versus the sound, the timbre. So that's good that you're able to, assign those different cadences to it. What other characters are you in development of now? Do you have any you're developing now that you're working on?
There's always some that are just hanging out in the background. The ones that come out most frequently, I would say, obviously CFL Jim, UFL Jim, the ones that are in leagues right now.
Hmm.
Investigator Jim is always a popular one to like pop out if there's something that needs dug up. Like, say for instance, why did Alabama get left out of the college football playoffs? Well,
Right.
Investigator Jim is on the case.
Yeah.
Chef Jim, because I have a chef's uniform, so he'll come out every once in a while for like a nice little recipe.
Let him
Uh,
cook.
exactly. Um, if I'm trying to, there might be. I'm always open to some other gym. There's
Yeah.
always another gym that could peek around the corner.
Yeah.
Um, and any other league, like there's an AF1, there's an Arena Football one, there is an AF1 gym. He's only been like seen sparsely, so there's some that are just kind of like here and there.
Now, in your trials and tribulations here, have you connected with, you mentioned St. Louis earlier. Do you feel more rooted, more connected to people involved in that particular team? Or are there other teams you feel very connected to by, people you've known or who've reached out to you?
So there was a couple guys that used to play in Japan that I've specifically interviewed. I feel very close to those guys. I think one of them's no longer in the league. He's coaching. There are a couple players that I feel close to just for following them forever. St. Louis, I feel close to just because a couple of the players I know played for them. I was big on San Antonio and the Brahmas just because I knew some of the players there. The Stallions, I'm trying. I'm in the works. I'm messaging guys that used to play there that I'm trying to like get messages with. I feel like I'm just anyone in specifically the UFL, but anyone that's involved in like the spring football community. It's a very tight knit group.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of knows everybody, and players or media personalities or anything like that. I feel a connection with a lot of them.
Yeah. So, do you anticipate in saying that maybe in the future you're going to do more player interviews where you can bring them in, whether by Zoom or in person or whatever?
I would love to do more player interviews. The
Yeah.
only issue is like players in particular. I've had such a hit or miss time getting those guys that
Yeah.
like sometimes they have agents, sometimes they don't. Their schedules are
Yeah.
so up in the air.
It's
But I would
tricky.
love more player
No,
interviews.
it's certainly tricky, to get. But if you can get a couple, the domino falls pretty good
Mhm.
from there. So we need to mount a campaign to get you interviewing some of these folks, man. We need to get a hold of them. We need to reach out to them and try to make magic happen. So I'm going to get with my tech guy Gunner. He does a lot of help. He's affiliated. He's one of the investors in the Big Three, and he does a lot of stuff in the sporting world as far as his interests and everything. I'm going to have him try to reach out to some of these guys, see if we can somehow loop together and get you with them. If that takes us getting them on and then bringing you on to do it, well, we're going to make it happen, man. We're going to build this up.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I think that'll be a lot of fun, man. I think it'd be cool to watch that explode and grow and see that happen, man.
I agree. Also like any because even the arena, like if you haven't talked with the guys who have played like arena football or in any of those leagues for a
Hmm.
while, those guys are like the grindiest, like down to earth dudes because they're not getting paid a ton to play.
And if I'm not mistaken, as a matter of fact, I'm almost positive that we have a new arena football team in Arkansas. I
I don't know
I
where in
think they're
Arkansas,
in
but
Hot Springs, I think.
I think you're correct.
Yeah, and so I think we're about to get out to the coach there and talk to him. If I can get him, we can make
Oh yeah.
magic,
Oh yeah.
because if I can reach out to him and say, listen, I've got, this guy on my team, his name's XFL Jim, and I'd like to set it up for you guys to do an interview. It's a weird podcasty fun kind of thing that's different. and get them set up for it so they know what to expect. Kind of, I kind of see it not the same, but similar in a way to, oh, what is his name? Man, it's why is it escaping me? He's so popular. He's got real long hair and he interviews people, but he's kind of odd and he has Glenny Balls with him.
The Caleb,
Caleb,
Sunday
yeah,
interview.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
Sunday
yeah.
interview.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
similar, but not at all, really. But similar in the awkward, weird kind of setup.
Yes, I see exactly what you're saying.
You see what I mean? And so if we prepare, if we kind of explain that to them in that capacity, and they get it before they sit down, then it's going to be great because they'll know what they're walking into, and they're going to be like, okay, this is going to be one of those things. Yes, it is, because we're going to
Yes.
make it one of those things. So let me see if we can do some homework here and make that magic happen, Jim. I think we can.
I think that'd be beautiful.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And we'll start trying to reach out and grab as many of these folks until we get enough of them in there, that you can just reach out yourself or they're calling you, and I think that'll be great.
That'd be perfect.
Okay, good. Good. Hell yeah, man. I'm glad to hear it, man. I love collaboration, man. It's the best.
Dude, working with other people, I don't do it a ton,
Yeah.
but it's so fun. I always forget how rewarding it is.
Man, you know what? The problem with working with other people is most people are dicks, you know? And so you don't want to work with them because they're dicks, and either they're just out for themselves or mainly they just don't give a shit. They'll bilk you, they'll use you, but there's no quid pro quo there, and this, and I don't know how much you've been able, I know you're very, very busy with all that you do, especially watching all the games and everything, but our show is set up very differently. It's really a show designed to lift people up
Oh yeah.
and get them exposure. That's our whole premise of the show. And so this to me is what I do. It is my wheelhouse, and I love doing that.
That's great. I caught some of it, and yes, it's very much everyone's in it together, lifting each other. It's a good time.
Yeah, man. We still do stupid shit. I got body slammed through a table Thursday because well, my co-host popped off and said, "Hey, man, you want to bet the Ohio State Michigan game?" And I'm Ohio, and I said, "Man, come on, man, I don't want to hurt you like that, bro. I mean, they're favored by 23, right? I mean, you're going to get your ass beat. Don't take more embarrassment than you should." And he said, "No, if you'll take the bet, I got a wrestler that'll body slam you through a table." I said, "Whatever, bro. If you want, it's your bet. If you want to lose and be humiliated, go ahead." Yeah, fast forward a couple days later, and there's the Buckeyes getting that ass handled. And I was like, well, son of a bitch. And I went through a table on Thursday. I
I
thought,
know that feel. I've jumped through a table once or twice.
yeah, it's like, there's no way Ohio State. Yeah, there is. It's like, in my very, very short lived betting career was when I was in my 20s. And the last bet I ever made, I'll never forget, was a bet on Kansas City Chiefs. They were playing the hapless Indianapolis Colts with the sorry ass Jim Harbaugh as the quarterback, and he had been at a million teams, had some success, but never really, did that great. Man, Kansas City was unbeaten at home, unbeaten, hadn't been beaten probably in 2 years at home. Lynn Elliott missed 5 fucking field goals that game, missed 5 field goals, 5. Yeah, that was a double or nothing bet. It cost me a lot. And I said, I'm done. I'm done. I'm out. I'm done with gambling. I'm no good at this. I can't predict a kicker missing 5. You look in Vegas, I'm missing another one here. So, yeah. Anyway, that was my short-lived betting career, Jim.
I've had my fair share of little.
Well,
little
you have
fun
better
bets.
information, though, than I do. I'm an idiot. I don't have all the information like you. You can make a calculated decision based on facts. I'm almost the lady who picks the horse because of the name,
It's all vibes.
Yeah, it's all a vibe. Yeah, that's exactly what it is, to be honest. It's a vibe. So in the NFL this year, do you think that Patrick Mahomes is marching to another Super Bowl, or do you think because they look a little more vulnerable this year, do you think somebody may get past them?
Obviously, I think this is the weakest Chiefs that we've seen so far with Pat Mahomes. That being said, once they get to the playoffs, who knows? I feel
Yeah.
like they're a different beast once it's do or die and something turns on. You can never count out Pat Mahomes, but I've been watching them and they don't look like the best team. Like the Bills look so much better, the Lions look so much better, the Packers
What do
look
you think about
better.
the Ravens?
Even the Ravens look. I have a future on the Ravens. I have a 20-1 future on the Ravens
Yeah.
to win the
Man,
Super
I,
Bowl.
I sure want to see Jackson get one, man. I like that guy, man.
I do too.
He's just solid. He's a good dude. You know, I'd like to see good things for him. But so it could. Do you think a Detroit Kansas Super Bowl is likely?
Oh, I think obviously the AFC it really is just between the Bills and the Chiefs. So it's it's definitely likely because once it's do or die, the Chiefs seem to have the Bills number in the postseason.
Man, the Bills have been choke artists most of their career.
Mhm.
Jim Kelly, great quarterback, but I think he went four times in 5 years and couldn't close the deal one time, man. And he was a great
Oh
quarterback,
yeah.
a great
I think
quarterback.
it could be very likely that it's Lions, especially if the Lions end up getting a little bit healthier on defense. I think it could very likely be Chiefs Lions. I think I would maybe favor the Lions in that matchup
I
just
think
slightly.
I might too. As wily as Mahomes is, I think the Lions might edge him out this year. Look, Jared Goff is no slouch. I mean, he's been a good player for a long time. He's just never really had a great team around him. And man, right now he does.
The weapons that they have on offense and what they're doing, that offensive line in particular is just so dominant.
Man, it's strong.
It's so good.
It buys him a lot of time back there. I'll tell you that. You know, because Goff's kind of got square wheels. I mean, like Troy Aikman, he's not going to do a lot of running. You know, but when you got enough time to pitch a tent back there, you can check down 3, 4, 5. You know.
And I guess people are sleeping on, but you can't count them out. Don't count out the Steelers.
No, hell no, you can't count out the
Don't sleep
Steelers.
out on the Steelers.
No, you
Russ
got
has been
Russell
looking
Wilson.
good. That defense is super dangerous. They might be coming for that division. I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm kind of I'm a little torn on Russell Wilson. You know, when he came into Seattle, he was great. I mean, obviously he got him one. They had some good years, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if the team fell apart, if Russell fell apart. I don't know if Sierra's got just too good a trim. I don't know what's going on there, but I know that I'd love to see him be able to pull that off. I just don't know if he's got it or not. If the eye of the tiger is still there.
Yeah, it's hard to count them out with the defense, though. The way they
No,
play
they
it, Tomlin, now that he has a team that's actually going to do something, I trust Tomlin as a coach more than
yeah.
almost any other coach that will be in the playoffs. And I could see him doing a little bit of damage. We're all doubting the Chiefs. They legitimately do not look good for good chunks of games and a good portion of the season.
Yeah, they don't
But
look like the Chiefs that come back in the fourth quarter and
no,
pull off 3 TDs right now.
but once the playoffs hit, I just feel like I still can't get out of my head. They're going to flip a switch and they're just going to roll.
Yeah,
And
and you've been conditioned to think that because Tom Brady made you think that for 7, Super Bowls. Tom Brady, it was that guy that I mean, look, he came back 28 down in the fourth quarter. I
mhm.
literally turned that damn game off because I was so mad, and that cemented his legend status right there, coming back 28 points down. But I mean, he did that for years. We saw
Oh,
that
yeah.
happen, and Mahomes has been pretty slippery and wily in his time so far. I just don't know if he's made his run or is he going to approach that Brady status in the future. I mean, he's still pretty young. Do you
I think
think?
he's going to approach it.
You
The
think
things
so?
things that I've been watching Patrick Mahomes since like his first year at Texas Tech,
Yeah,
and the things that I've seen this man do with the football
it's pretty
are
crazy.
unworldly. I just feel like he's going to do some magic, and let's be honest, maybe have some help from like the powers that be.
Right, of
Whether
course,
it's the
yeah.
refs or just fate, because sometimes it's just weird stuff that happens
It
to the
is.
Chiefs.
It is.
I feel like they're just gonna get there. I feel like it'll be a Chiefs Lions matchup, and I'm praying for the Lions to win. I would personally, my favorite matchup would be Lions Bills.
Yeah, that would
That'd be
be
the
an
best.
interesting matchup. I don't know if America would love it as much but I do think that'd be a great matchup for sure. I like both of those teams. The Bills just choke a lot. So
Well, that way, at least someone's got to win their first Super Bowl.
no, and that's a fair statement. What I will say about the Chiefs this year, and it's a little consolation, which is that in spite of some more difficult games, particularly for Mahomes, they have found ways to win. Whether it's with the defense, with special teams, I mean they have come up with big wins when they were within a point or two. And so that does matter some. They are still gritty. They're just not. They haven't seemed as fully strong in all positions as they have in previous years. I agree with that.
Yeah, they haven't felt fully functional. If like one part of their team is really
Yeah.
succeeding, it looks like the other part, like the defense is lights out, then the offense is struggling.
Now-
If the offense is doing good, the defense is floundering.
Obviously, you love all football, but do you have an NFL team that is your favorite team?
The Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins, are my team.
The hapless Dolphins.
Yeah, I know. I fell in love with the Dolphins playing like early Madden 99 or 95 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I picked the Dolphins, and then the uniforms looked sick, and then I got stuck with the Dolphins.
Yeah,
so now I'm a Dolphins fan. And
no, that's fine. It's tough, but it's fine. It's Tua Tagovailoa. They were doing so good. What's going on in Miami now?
It's all up in the air right now. I mean, they still look good. Tua's like obviously the game they had Thanksgiving weekend against the Packers, notwithstanding, because the Dolphins just can't play in the cold. I don't know if they've never been able to play in the cold.
No, they're definitely an indoor team.
Yeah, so whatever to that. But since Tua's gotten back from injury, they've at least been fun to watch. I think they're you have to chuck this year into the dumpster and just hopefully maybe you can play spoiler to somebody. Maybe you can knock the Bills out of the 1 seed, or maybe you can knock like somebody out of
but
the
you
playoffs.
think maybe if they're healthy next year, they could be a contender?
They need to shore up some things on defense. Just like every team, they need to like work on offensive line a little bit. I think they obviously have weapons. They have a great running back room. They could. It's old to be seen though, because they haven't been able to get over the hump of being able to beat teams with a winning record.
So one thing about the NFL right now that I find a little bit interesting, but odd too, which is that it's very top heavy with good teams, but the bottom half of the NFL sucks.
It's so bad.
It is. What's going on? Why is it so bad right now?
It feels like this year in particular, I don't know exactly why. I mean, it could be coaching, but it just feels like there's the really good teams and then everyone else straight up stinks.
They just suck. Yeah.
And I've never seen it before the NFL.
I haven't either.
The parity level is usually like right there. And this year's an anomaly. It's weird. It might be coaching. I can't think of any other thing that it would be, but it's weird.
And let me go with one more question before we wrap it up. Over at Ohio State, Ryan Day, he's having a real struggle getting past Michigan. If he doesn't get into the championship game, is it possible he's done?
It's possible. I don't know if they fire him with the crazy buyout that he has on his plate. But he could step away. It's not just Ohio State that probably wants him out. Like you see him on the sidelines, you see him in these interviews. He looks haggard. He looks tired. I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see him step away into like an NFL OC role or something like that. I just don't think he gets fired.
Buckeye fan is very impatient. If you know them, every year is a win it all year to them. And if you're not in that hunt, something's wrong in their mindset, But I know Urban Meyer said, "Yeah, no, I'm not coming back. I'm good."
It's the Michigan thing, and this one in particular, because this isn't just you lost to Michigan. Yes, you lost to a not good Michigan team, and this is the first not good team that they've lost to. Every other team that they lost to was like a national championship contending team.
But is it fair to say though that it is the biggest rivalry in sports, not just athletic, in all sports? Is 100%. It fair to say that records really go out the window for that game?
It definitely is fair. Like I remember even like the Brady Hoke era, Michigan was keeping it, even though they weren't winning those games, they were keeping it close.
Yeah.
And those were some straight up bad teams.
Yeah.
And like you guys, people remember we were having a similar conversation about Jim Harbaugh not too long ago, but like,
In Michigan,
is he
yeah.
really cut out for Michigan? Like,
Yeah.
is he going to stick around? And then he just starts rattling off beating
Yeah.
Ohio State, national championship, beating Ohio State. And then everything is like fine and expunged. I think he just needs the one. He just needs the one win. And then everything is forgiven. And also, I feel like we're looking at Ryan Day a little bit differently if things go right in 2022 and they beat Georgia,
Right.
because they're probably beating Texas. They're probably beating TCU and winning a natty.
Yeah, no,
So
that's
then
probably
he's
true.
like, yeah, his record against Michigan's trash, but he has a natty in there.
Yeah.
It's just, it's tough.
I like Ryan Day personally.
He's a good coach.
I think he is a good coach. I think that, again, Buckeye fan, their expectations are different than other fans. You know, oddly, the weirdest thing I can tell you is Arkansas fan is like Buckeye fan and has no basis for it. Zero basis to think that we should compete every year. But every year I hear him go, why can't we compete for that? Because you're in Arkansas, man. Look at every other college team. Where do they play? Not Arkansas. I'll tell you that.
It's a fair point.
It is a fair point. I mean, even Texas out recruits us because they have pedigree. Alabama has a pedigree and an ocean. Florida has an ocean. Georgia has an ocean. Mississippi, even Mississippi has an ocean. Can't spell, has an ocean. You know? So everybody in the SEC just about is a more attractive place to play. And that's hard to recruit against. Doesn't mean my state's not awesome. It is. It's awesome to retire in. It's awesome for adults. But if you're a young person trying to get your groove on, your swim on, your party on, your drink on, your spring break on, it ain't here. No, you can take your beer to the DMV and hang out, with Jed and them, but you ain't gonna, not like that,
No, not the party scene.
No, it's definitely not. But I shouldn't badmouth. I love my state. Don't think I don't. I'm just saying I don't understand why our fans think that we should be competing like that. And it's like, yeah, everybody wants to do that, but not everybody can do that. You think that Rice doesn't want to compete for a championship? Of course they do. Are they going to ever? No, probably not.
No, I was on Rice a little bit this year. I got burned.
Yeah. A lot of people probably did. It's like Appalachian State. You get excited. You think they're going to do it because they've done it, but doesn't happen. Well, I need to wrap this up, but damn, man, it's been so good to talk to you. I'm so thankful and grateful that somehow we found one another and can team up and use our superpowers to combine and try to make this thing magic.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm tingling with excitement.
Well, I'm gonna let you tingle on your own, but I appreciate that you are, my friend. Hey, listen, Jim, before we go, tell everybody if look, some of my people are going to be like, man, I need more Jim in my life. How do they get it? Where do they go to find more Jim in their life?
You can literally anywhere online at XFL Jim. You can find me on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Twitter, or X, the everything app.
Yes.
Reddit. I am everywhere. Just look up XFL Jim and you will find me.
Just yell XFL Jim and something's going to show up. That's all you got to do.
Damn right.
All right, man. Well, Jim, man, I thank you so much for this and look forward to seeing your segment this coming week, my brother.
It's going to be a good one.
I bet it will. We'll talk to you then.
Sounds good.
All right, man.